welcome to this episode of Mountain Crawlers. Today we're gonna take these 8 lights and be putting them on the roof, make a poor man's KC light bar. So stay tuned, let's get these things on. It'll look awesome. So guys, as you know, I built this roof rack a few months ago and it is time to finish it. It needs paint, it's starting to rust, and we need to get this thing all wrapped up. So on Black Friday, I got a good deal on these. They are Big Lion lights off Amazon. If you guys have seen Quince's walk around video of his Jeep, he's running the 7-inch version of these on his bumper, and they are plenty bright for the price. So these are their 5-inch version. I bought them on Black Friday. They're about 55 bucks a pair at the time. I think they're like 75 bucks normally. So we are gonna make our knockoff KC style light bar with these, and they even come with their own covers to put on. So I'm thinking about adding a logo to those covers later, but we'll just get these on for now and see how it looks. I will also leave a link in the description for those lights if you guys want to check them out yourself. Okay, so I have this piece of angle iron. I'm gonna make a duplicate for the other side, but we're gonna attach it right about there, and then the lights are gonna run underneath along the windshield. And then we'll have braces coming up to the roof rack, and we'll make it look nice too. You guys, you think I'd learned my lesson by now, but this is probably the 20th tack weld that's hit my wedding ring, and that one was hot. And I know you're saying I should wear gloves, but sometimes when tack welding, it's just easier to not have gloves on. And yes, I know I need a rubber wedding ring. I am an idiot. Don't do what I do. Okay guys, so I got the ends tacked on. Now what we're gonna do is take a long piece of angle iron and go across, but we're gonna cut notches in it and kind of do a bow in it, kind of like if you were to bend tubing, but instead it's angle iron. And that'll give it a nice curve to the light bar, like the KC look we're going for. I would like to give a shout out to Bowman. He is the one that did this on his Jeep first, and I'm kind of copying his idea, but not totally. I will drop a picture of his X-Ray right here. But Bowman, if you're watching, I appreciate the input and thank you for the ideas. Okay, so I have this piece of angle iron here that's gonna go span across those 2 brackets we just tacked on. And I'm gonna cut it, just slots out of the angle iron 7 times to fit 8 lights in between here. And hopefully, if I do my math right, it'll be too long on both sides and we can just trim it, but it'll be nice and center and follow the contour of the windshield is what I'm aiming for. Now I'm no mathematician, so I'm kind of just gonna wing this, so don't do what I do. Alright guys, I'd say that is a pretty easy way to bend a piece of angle. I think that'll match the curvature of the roof nicely. Hopefully we didn't go too far. But we'll slap it on the roof, cut the ends off so it's the same width, and then we should be ready to tack it on. Do whatever you need. And go on the back side. Cool. That was easy. Wow, that looks identical. That's all I need. Thanks, sir. Well, she's all tacked now. We're gonna get the roof rack off and center all the lights. It'll be a lot easier to drill with this thing off the Jeep. As long as we get it nice and center, I think it'll look fine once we put it back on the Jeep. Lights are bolted up. I'm gonna flip the rack over, mount it on the Jeep, see how it looks, get all our wiring how we want it, then rip it all back off, paint this dang thing, and finally get close to being done. All right guys, she's all mounted. My iPhone ran out of storage again, so I had to clear some videos, but had to make sure she clears the wipers, which it does. We had to scoot the rack forward a little bit, but it's clearing good. So we're gonna tighten them all up, get our wiring done, and then I think I'm gonna run it for a few days before we pull it all back off and paint it. But I think it looks freaking dope right now. What do you think, Jared?
I think it looks way better than the curved light bars for sure.
Yeah, old school look.
Functionality-wise too, it'll be way better.
I think it'll be a lot better. You can adjust it, have a lot more opportunity for the lighting too than just a fixed bar.
So if you guys want to do a KC style look on your Jeep or whatever rig you have, you can do it for 1/10 of the price, and these lights are still plenty bright. So I mean, of course anybody would kill to have a KC light bar. I mean, I would, but I'm not a millionaire, so
I would too, but
yeah. This is
$2,500.
yeah, $2,500 for a KC rack or $250 for a Big Lion homemade rack. Yeah. Okay guys, we are actually a few weeks in advance from the last time you saw me in this video. I've been super busy, haven't had a chance to get back to the light rack yet. Also, I've been fighting having the flu plus sinus infections here and there. So it's just not been a good month. Also with Christmas and now New Year's is in 2 days. Just been busy. So I apologize, but this rack has got to get done. So I do have the 4 middle lights wired up, as you just saw, and I will show you briefly how I wired those. So if you guys want to do this yourself, you can try it out. And on camera, I will wire up the other 4, but let me show you what's all done to get the middle 4 wired. Okay, so like I said, all 4 middle lights are wired right now. I have them running along this square tubing right here. They're all individually with their own factory wiring until about right here. Then it splices into 2 pieces of 10 gauge wire, one red, one black for ground and positive, and then runs down the windshield here. And I know this Gorilla Tape is temporary, but it runs down along the windshield here, through the fender, right here, and then through this hole with some insulation. All right, guys, so now the hood's open. Sorry, I got some mud on here. It wires right up through here and into the mic tuning switch panel. And it goes to one of the 30 amp slots. So we'll put another one, the other 4 lights on this 30 amp slot. I did the math, and these lights, 4 lights will pull 26 amps max with how much wattage they pull. I did the math and divided by 12 volts. And the 10 gauge wire will hold up to 8 feet in length before you need to go to a bigger gauge and run more amperage. So we should be good. Like I said, that Gorilla Tape is temporary. Jaron actually did find me some tape before he left Colorado that we're gonna try. It's this T-Rex waterproof tape, and let's see. It's actually the same texture as the factory window trim. So I think it will hold up pretty well. I hope. It's really sticky stuff, and it is waterproof, so it'll just go. I'm gonna try to tape it over the factory seal here and make it look as clean as I can. Now, a lot of guys will drill holes in the roof of their XJ because that's the only other way I've seen it do it. And I absolutely refuse to do that. I don't want to deal with that. If I ever want to take these off, I don't want to have a hole in my roof. So that is my plan, is to run down the side of the windshield. There is a little bit of a gap between the windshield and the A-pillar. So that is one way to do it, or drill a hole in your roof. One other thing would be to run the lights back here, or the wires back here, and tap in through like the hatch area or something. But keep in mind, the longer you run your wires, the thicker the gauge they gotta be, because of how much amperage those lights pull. So just keep that in mind, guys. Also, these wires are soldered right now from the, I think these are 16 or 18 gauge if I remember. But they're soldered 4 reds to one 10 gauge red, and 4 blacks to one 10 gauge black. And that is the right size wiring as for the charts that I was looking up. But I am gonna actually put like a connector right here, a 10 gauge size connector. So that way, if I ever wanna just pull the full rack off, I can leave the light wiring on and I don't have to disconnect all this crap up here. Okay, so this is the wiring harness that comes with 2 lights. You ordered the lights as a pair, of course. And these are our connectors that we need. So we're gonna just rob the connectors off this wiring harness and rob whatever wire we can too. So I'm gonna go ahead and snip it right about there. So if you guys ever just wanted to run the wiring harness it comes with a 40 amp relay and a fuse, of course. And then you got your ground and power, and then a switch which will turn 2 lights on. So you would need 4 switches for 8 lights if you're doing what I was doing, which does come with the lights anyways. But I'm just gonna save this for spare stuff. If I ever have a problem with the switch panel for some reason having blown fuses from the lights pulling too much amperage, which I don't think they will, what I will do is add like a relay harness into this system, and then literally just have the switch panel be the on-off signal to the relay, and this relay will take the load instead of the switch panel, and I could use the lights that way and still use my switch panel without having to add extra switches, because what's the point in the switch panel if you've got a bunch of these everywhere? So let's get this thing wired up. Okay, so I've got all that other wiring for the other 4 lights tucked and loomed how I like it. I'm gonna eventually clean all this up after we paint the rack, of course, and use a lot less zip ties. But this is just a general area of how I want it. And also, instead of using zip ties on this angle iron, because I want to keep the front look clean, I took a nut and a larger washer and just kind of ran it down my finger, and it's not pinching this wire at all, but it is holding it tight, so I like that. I'm gonna try that, and that'll hold that wire good, so it's not gonna go anywhere. So now we've got this strand of 8 wires. We're gonna turn them into 2 wires of 10 gauge. These are 18 gauge, by the way. I just read what it said on the side of the shielding. And man, that light, those lights down on the very end, we're almost out of length, so we got lucky. All right, so got the 18s tied into 2 10 gauges here, like I said, and we went and soldered. We did a solderable crimp, soldered it, and heat shrunk it. You guys, I highly recommend with heat shrink, you get the stuff with the insulated glue that melts around the wire when you heat this stuff up. That way you keep any water out of your wires and prevent corrosion. You never want corrosion in a situation of wiring, that's for sure. So I'm gonna route it down just like the other side underneath this trim. And there's actually a bigger gap here than the other side because the windshield was not set in 100% straight. No big deal. This should actually fit in a lot nicer than the other side. So I'm gonna do that, wire it to the switch panel, and I'm not gonna worry about taping it because we're gonna take it all back off. And I did also say I'm gonna put connectors here. However, my local auto parts store doesn't have the style I want right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and just leave it hardwired for now. And if I ever pull the rack back off, the first thing I'll do before I pull the rack off is add those connectors in the future. Right now though, we're just gonna run it like this. So I'll get this all routed. We'll turn these lights on and see how all 8 of them light up. We'll turn the shop lights off too. All right, lights are wired. Let's see what they look like. Wow. Can't wait to see these at night, man. Just the 4 middle ones I had wired up before just lit up everything in front of you like it was daytime. Okay, now with everything wired up, it is time to finally paint this thing. I know I've been saying that like 30 times now probably, but I'm gonna get every connector off the lights and then just kind of take off all those zip ties I put on. I'm gonna actually take a picture of all of it so I can put it back right to where I had it. But yeah, just hang the wiring on the windshield, take the rain gutter mounts off, take the rack off, take the mounts off separate, paint everything individually, let that sit overnight, and then final assembly tomorrow, hopefully. primering the case suspension mounts to the rack. Got the rack off over here. However, for some reason, this carriage bolt decided it wanted to just keep on spinning. So I'm gonna have to cut it off and just run a regular bolt in that bracket. And then we'll start painting this guy. Okay, as you guys just saw, I did add 2 more pieces to this front basket just for a little more stability when I throw totes and stuff up in there. But I also decided to add some tie down points too. So I have a nice easy spot to tie down on this rack when I do throw stuff up in here. Now I'm also debating on if I should get like a Pelican style box for this dimension, or the closest one I can, and put it in here. That'd make it look really slick. But for those of you guys that don't know, that don't regularly follow the channel, or if you haven't seen my older videos, the reason why this void on the rack is empty is because my rooftop tent actually goes right there. So I will leave a link in the description of when I first put the rooftop tent up there, and you guys can check that video out. But we are getting this thing all painted, and then finally the tent can go back on. I'm gonna probably leave it off for the winter unless we decide to do a random spur of the moment winter camping trip, but it'll mainly be off each winter and be on start of spring when camping season rolls around. All right, I am officially ready to paint this thing. I'm gonna be using this Ace Rust Stop primer because I'm too lazy to clean all the surface rust off, but this stuff should cover it up pretty nice. And don't follow me for painting advice because I am not a professional at all. I just do my own stuff and it seems to work all right. So we'll be using that Rust Stop primer though, like I said. And then my go-to type of bed liner, it's a Rust-Oleum custom lacquer. If you saw my video of building my friend's bumper on his XJ, we use this stuff, and it's on every other piece of armor on my Jeep. Excellent stuff, sticks really well. Only thing that ever takes it off is hitting it on rocks, which is given for any paint, right? So that being said, let's get to priming. I forgot to hit record when I was flipping this thing over to primer the bottom, but I did run out of primer, so I'm just going to use some Paint Plus primer to hit the rest that I missed, and then we'll throw some lacquer on this thing. Alright guys, it's primed to my satisfaction, so we're gonna go ahead and spray this thing. But let me show you how quick this lacquer dries. Like, we can paint this thing and within 5 to 15 minutes, we'll be able to flip it and paint the other side already. But look at this. I just painted the case suspension brackets with this stuff less than 5 minutes ago. I can already run my finger across it, no streaks. So I mean, you can see a little bit of moisture on my hands, but it immediately goes away. So I'll give these about another 10 minutes and they should be done. I'm not saying that's cured time, but that is good enough time that it can be handled. So I'm of course gonna paint it all and flip it and paint the other side, and then probably come back in about 6 hours and install it back on the Jeep. guys, we're back. Everything's all dry now. Quince is going to come down to the shop and help me set the rack on the roof just so it's nice and careful. We're not going to scratch any of that paint because it's not fully cured yet, but it is handleable. So we're going to throw it on the Jeep right now. All right, guys, everything is back on and jiving. I decided I didn't want to bore you with putting it all back together, as you've already seen the process. But I went ahead and used that T-Rex tape, and that stuff is pretty dang sticky. And I think it's gonna work well on this. Now this was my first attempt, so it's not perfectly straightened. It's got a little bit of a wrinkle. So I might redo this side later. But I got the passenger side looking almost OEM. Once I figured out this tape, it was pretty easy. So I just laid it on and took a razor blade and cut the excess off so it looks almost OEM. And I think that'll work to hide the wire for now. And if I have to replace it once a year, big deal. It is $7 a roll, little pricey, but as long as you do it right, it should work, and I don't have to drill holes in my roof, right? So tonight's actually New Year's Eve. So what better way than to try this out, right? So we're gonna go hit the woods in just a little bit and test these lights out. Alright guys, I hope you like this video. Now, as expected, these all 8 lights together pull about 52 amps max. So my stock 90 amp alternator isn't too happy about it, of course, with running the heater as well. So soon in the future, you guys will be seeing an alternator upgrade. I might do the Dodge 160 amp, or I might even get a bigger aftermarket one. Time will tell. But these lights are freaking bright. The video does not give it justice, just like video doesn't give anything justice. And I'm sorry we're doing this the end of the video here at night, but I need to get this video out so you guys can see it. But I hope you liked it. I hope this guy gave you guys some inspiration if you want to do this mod yourself. And I hope everybody is having a great start to 2024. Here's to a year of awesome things going on the channel. I hope you guys will have a good year as well. And if you like this video, one more time, please like, please subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. You guys have a good night. Happy 2024. We'll see you later.